What is going on, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and welcome back to another live stream. So, bunch of stuff going on right now in the comic book community, MCU, comics in general that I want to touch on tonight. And this is really, as I always do, live streams, very impromptu. Going to hang out. We're going to talk a bit, but a couple of things noteworthy I definitely want to talk about is that CGC lawsuit. We knew about the lawsuit maybe about a month ago. At least I did, from Keep It Thorough's channel. He always does a great job of giving out the facts without, jumping to conclusions. So we get everything all in one video, which is great. So shout out to him. One day I got to have him on here because he's just a great guy, but also I think he's a great YouTuber as well. But we're going to start off talking about CGC, but we're also going to talk about the big MCU news. Robert Downey Jr. back in the MCU. I did touch on this earlier in the week with my own video, but we have some new information that I do want to talk about. Of course, we'll talk about Deadpool and Wolverine and some spoilers later on in the show. I actually had a chance to see that on Sunday. It was fantastic. So hopefully everyone out there who's watching tonight has seen that movie. If not, later on, before we get into it, I'll give a spoiler warning. But also how everything affects comic books, right? That's why most of us do this, for the books, for the fun, all that good stuff. But I want to start off tonight talking about the CGC lawsuit that came about. There was a ruling on this lawsuit. I'm sure most of everybody has heard this by now, but I'll read you the entire story. Okay, let's start with that. There we go. All right, so CGC loses defamation case, hit with $10 million in damages. Comic book restoration company claimed CGC had harmed its reputation. CGC, a leading grader in the world of comic books, lost an 8-year-long defamation case this week as a Philadelphia jury assessed $10 million in total damages against the company. The jury found that a CGC employee had knowingly defamed investment-grade comic books, a comic book restoring business. Plaintiffs Matt and Emily Myers of IGB were awarded $5 million in reputational and economical damage and $5 million in punitive damages. We are disappointed by the latest developments in this nearly decade-old case and will be filing an appeal, CGC President Max Spiegel said in a statement. The Myers sent their restored comic books to CGC for grading, according to testimony in the case. Lead CGC grader Matt Nelson, who is now obviously the president over at CGC, publicly questioned in an online forum how far IGB had gone in restorations by asserting fraud, the lawsuit claimed. Now, I'm going to stop right here for a second and just say that Matt Nelson actually went on the CGC boards and said some stuff about IGB's process. He was public about it, which obviously what we're going to talk about a little bit is a big no-no. The Myers believed their submissions received subpar grades and filed for defamation. The couple also asserted their company had lost future business due to the questions of fraud. CGC asserted Nelson spoke for himself and not the company. Let me repeat that for you guys, because this is what I really want to talk about today. CGC asserted Nelson spoke for himself and not the company. Let that sink in a second, okay? The jury disagreed and ruled in the Myers' favor. The Myers did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna just take it off the screen so you just see me. We went through the whole thing already, but I know a bunch of you out there have heard of this. Some may have not heard about it, but this is a big deal in my opinion. Not because of the money, and we'll touch a little bit about the money in a second, about how that affects maybe CGC raising prices, stuff like that. But I want to talk about the relationship that CGC has as a company with its customers, and also now with Matt Nelson. We all know at the time, the lawsuit was filed, Matt Nelson was just the head grader. Now he's the president over at CGC for now. And we'll get into that in a second. But one, let's start off talking about money, right? $10 million is a lot of money. CGC is appealing the ruling, but and I would think in this case that the Myers from IGB are going to get most of this money. Maybe they might settle out of court before this goes to an appeal. That's my assumption. If I'm the Myers, I'm not sure I exactly want to do that, but I understand the chance that they would be taking, considering you never know what could happen in an appeal. But either way, $10 million, CGC is not going to pay that. Their insurance company is going to pay it, I assume. So will it affect comic book prices? We all know CGC just lowered their prices once the big eBay scandal was uncovered, how people were, swapping books out, uh, all that fun stuff, that they now recalled all these books. And if you go check on the site, not a lot of books were sent back in. So most of these books are still floating out there, which is a big disappointment in my eyes. But I do think they did the right thing by reducing prices, but I also think they're going to raise prices again and use this as an excuse going forward. Again, as long as that appeal is, you know, withheld, excuse me, upheld, and they have to pay out $10 million, which is it's not a small amount of money. So I assume that they are going to raise prices again. And then of course we have to talk about PSA later on tonight about how this also affects CGC's decision if they decide to go ahead and raise prices as well. So it's an interesting thing. But here's my big thing, and what I really wanted to talk about first, and I wanted to get out of the way. And then of course I'll say hello to whoever's in the chat. You saw what I just put up on the screen, that spokesperson for CGC said that Matt Nelson spoke for himself and not the company, throwing him right under the bus. Now, maybe they did that because they thought it might help them in the case and they plan on going forward with Matt Nelson, regardless. Again, when this happened, I don't think he was the president of CGC. He was only the head grader at the time. But how does Matt Nelson feel about hearing this or reading this online in this article? And I can only give you my own personal thoughts on this, because if that was me, granted, I understood what he did. He went on and discussed this in a public open forum, and that probably hurt them the most in this case. But if that was me and I heard the company that I worked for, am employed by, yes, I'm the top dog in that company, but if I heard them speak to me like that and kind of throw me under the bus, I'd be pretty annoyed. I'm not going to lie. That's my personality. Coming from someone who runs his own business, um, the way you treat your employees is probably the most important thing that you do outside of being profitable, right? And for them to throw him under the bus, whether right or wrong, there's ways to handle it. Now, I have problems with people that I work with all day, every day. It's okay. We still remain on good terms, but there's ways to handle things and there's ways not to. So to me, in order to have a good business, a good workflow, I'll put it that way, everybody has to be on the same page. Okay. And I think how you treat your employees is a big deal in that. So again, if I'm Matt Nelson and I feel like I've been thrown under the bus, whether I did something wrong or not, you want the head honchos to stick up for you. And for me, if I was him, I'd be kind of looking elsewhere at this point. And that's what's kind of gotten in my head. I don't know what the type of guy Matt Nelson is. I don't know how far they're going to take this. But if I was thrown under the bus, I would probably confront them and say, "What are you doing? I understand I made a mistake, but at least, you know, protect me." And they came out publicly and just basically lambasted him. Whether deserving or not, you don't do that. You keep it in house, right? So if I'm Matt Nelson, do I start looking elsewhere for other opportunity? Do I just ride this thing out and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll just take my medicine and keep going"? Do I kind of look in the meantime while I'm pondering this? Do I look at other places? Hey, Dave, do you need someone here to do this? Do you need a head grader? Do you need something else? That's up to him. I don't know his personal stance on everything, but that for me as a human being, as someone who works hard and for the most part, I think tries to do the right thing. Well, is he always transparent about things? No, but I understand that when you're working for a business, you can't say everything all the time, especially to the people you're um what's the word I want to use? The people you're servicing. You can't tell them every little detail. I understand that because sometimes things don't come off great, but they're done for a reason. With that said, that's my biggest thing right now. When this thing is settled totally, whether the appeal gets upheld, whether it's settled, out of that courtroom, what happens to Matt Nelson? And like I said, I gave you 3 scenarios. 1, he leaves. 2, he bides his time till he can find something else in this industry that he feels comfortable doing. Or do they give him the boot and say, you know what, Matt, we're going to go in a different direction with a different president. And again, this is all hearsay and what's in my head. I'm not saying any of this is going to happen, but that's what came to my mind when I read this thing, that CGC just threw Matt Nelson right under the bus. Again, I understand he may have done something wrong in a public open forum, but regardless, if you stand by your employees, unless it's something horrific, I just don't think what they did was right by throwing him under the bus like that. So I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments, in the chat. What happens to Matt at this point? I understand San Diego Comic-Con just happened. I don't remember if this announcement came out during San Diego Comic-Con, or right after, but I'm anxious to see when his next public appearance is going to be. So I want everybody out there to keep their eyes on this and ears on this, because let's see what happens once this thing gets fully settled. So I'm going to say hello to everyone here in the chat, and I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are. Again, we're going to touch on so many things tonight, but I wanted to start with this because it's an interesting nugget I haven't heard anybody talk about yet. I had a very brief conversation with someone on Instagram, and I had mentioned it to him, and he was kind of thinking along the same lines as me. Is like, wow, I can't believe they took that stance against him. But, I wanted to put it out there, right? So it's out there right now. So if anything does happen, I want you guys to think of me and say, you know what, he brought a great question upon us. Like, what does he do next? Totally different situation, but obviously Steve Borak at one time worked for CGC, left to go start CBCS, and at some point he left CBCS to go work. I think he worked at My Comic Shop for a little bit, and now he's over at Comic Link. But again, totally different situation. But I want to call them the founding fathers of this whole thing. And maybe Matt Nelson is not that, but he's a part of the comic book industry. I think they have opportunity elsewhere. It might not be as the head honcho, but again, when you're kind of disrespected in this way a little bit, I think that at least as a man, for me, I'd be up all over that. And I've been through a personal situation where I think I was kind of thrown under the bus a little bit, and I ended up giving my notice about a month later somewhere. So again, it's about his comfort level. So let's go and say hello to everyone in the chat. And again, like I said, I would like to hear everybody what they think of this. John, what's going on, brother? I heard that CGC has a lawsuit on them. There you go. Yep. So he said, so if I had sent a comic book in, would I get that $10 million? No. So if it does get settled, then they do have to end up paying $10 million to come out of their insurance, and that would be settled, between the parties and their insurance company. But I do believe that if it does go that way, CGC was go ahead and raise their prices one more time. That's just my opinion. They're not going to take this lying down, because whenever a company loses money in any way, they're trying to recoup that lost money. 100% take it from someone who, like I said, runs their own business. Whether I own it or not is a different story, but I run the business for the most part. You're always trying to recoup lost money, even if it's cutting expensive. So they could be letting some people go. You never know. Like I said, I brought up the whole thing with Matt Nelson. That could be part of the deal as well. We don't know. Kenneth Bird, what's going on, brother? How are you? Ray, how are you, man? Brandon Brecho, what's going on, brother? New name, Mark Osler. How are you? If the lawsuit sticks to CGC, they'll be forced to raise their prices to cover legal fees. Will that open the door for CBCS or PGX? Listen, CBCS and PGX the door has been open already between the eBay scandal, between the people that work for CGC that were stealing books, and they haven't been able to capitalize. So same thing. They're not going to be able to capitalize on this. The real game changer will be PSA. If they can come into the market with a good slab, and we'll segue into that in a little bit. We'll go into that next, because we did see the slabs over on YouTube. A bunch of guys were at San Diego Comic-Con this past weekend, and they got to hold and touch and see the new slabs, and they were all amazingly positive. So we'll touch on that in a second. But no, I don't think those two companies will capitalize at all, because they have yet to show that they're willing to do anything to capitalize on anything CGC does poorly. Gary Hahn, what's going on, brother? CGC might have told Matt what they were going to say. They were going to say, throw him under the bus, but they would take care of him or protect him. It's possible, 100%. But for you, Gary, and to everyone out there in the chat, would that be okay with you? Your reputation is everything. Like I keep using this, analogies. Like I have a small independent business. Your reputation is everything. So I understand CGC is a big company. But at the end of the day, if I'm Matt, and even if they came to me, hey, we're gonna say this because I think it gives us the best chance to try to win the case, I would understand it, but I would still not be okay with it. But that's me as a human being. He is, like I've said before, he is someone totally else. But it's something worth keeping an eye on going forward here, and that's what I want to raise this question. Brandon says, being the result took 10 years in court, the raise in prices already taken place at beginning of year. May gave steady been a result, meaning they knew they would lose at the time of the recent price hike. I don't know about that one. They just decreased prices on certain things. And of course, for the month of July, they gave everybody that big discount if you're willing to submit 20 books. So I'm not sure. Regardless if it's already been there or if it's not been there, now they have an excuse to do it again. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, all right, everybody knows about it now, so let's go ahead and raise prices so we can recoup even more of our losses. Again, I don't know that. It remains to be seen. But again, I'm bringing this up in conversation tonight because I want people to be aware. So if we do get that price increase some point during this year, or once we learn that there's been a settlement, that's when we'll kind of put two and two together. But I'm more concerned right now with Matt Nelson. I want to see what happens going forward with him. When his next public appearance is going to be. Now, I knew New York Comic Con is going to be in October this year, as it always is. I'm anxious to see if he's going to be there. I don't remember last year if he was there or not. CGC obviously was there. I'm assuming he was there, but I didn't see him when I was there. But I will maybe see if I can go talk to him a little bit. We'll see. Maybe he doesn't want to hear from me. Maybe someone at CGC will watch this live stream and maybe kind of give him my thoughts. Maybe he didn't think about it till he sees this, which I'm a smaller YouTube channel. I don't think he will, but it's always nice to know what someone is thinking. Even if it remained private, I'm open. PSA will be more of a threat to CGC than PGX and CBCS. I agree, because PSA is already at the top of one aspect of their business, and that's cards, obviously. And they were not number one when they started. Like CGC came out of the gate and was the only one, and they've been number one ever since. PSA took over from Beckett. They've become number one. So they're starting from a solid foundation. They pulled in a good head grader. If you guys don't know, it is someone pulled over from CBCS, who is actually very close to one of our other comic book YouTubers. Dave from Comic Book Investments is actually his father. So go check out his channel. He did a great 2-hour interview with his dad about becoming the head grader over at PSA. Got some great insight, more than we've gotten so far from anyone else that has kind of covered the situation. But let's segue over into PSA for a second, because we did get a chance to take a closer look at some of the new PSA slabs over at San Diego Comic-Con. And I got to tell you, from what I saw, they absolutely look fantastic. You guys know, if you watched the last stream I had, the one gripe was that the inner well, and I can't even call it an inner well anymore, the inner, border, we'll call it the inner border, is frosted, which I kind of don't like. I kind of like to see through that part of the plastic so we can, have that clear background against the book. That was really my only gripe. The label itself, people don't like, but I knew PSA was never going to change that label. They may alter a few things here or there, maybe make the grade a little bigger. Everybody was talking about that. But the one thing I did notice from the all the videos and pictures from San Diego Comic-Con was that they had a no grade on all those books. Now, I know they might have done that specific region, or, they just had AU were for authenticated comic book, which obviously no one's going to get that authenticated if they're going to send in a book. I'm in the minority. I would like try to slab my book without a grade for a cheaper price. That's something I may, be in line for. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but I think it's a cool little option for people who kind of buy books not because of the grade, but they buy comic books because of the books themselves, and maybe they just want to protect them. So I know I'm in the vast minority on that one, but I actually like the cases from what they actually showed. If you look at a CGC case, they're kind of jagged if you look at them sideways, whereas the PSA case is very streamlined and it's square all the way around. And I actually really like that. I think it's great. I know a lot of people like to carry that CGC case from the top right there. There's a little like, cliff that at the top of the CGC case, which is nice for that reason alone. But I do like the PSA case from all the photos and videos that I've seen. I've heard it's very heavy, which may be a deterrent, honestly. Hanging on a wall, if you like to stack your slabs on it like a shelf, that's a lot of weight there hanging. If you're going to do like 10 to 15 books on a long shelf, that may be one thing, but I think the majority of people don't display their slabs anyway. For the most part, they kind of just put them away in a box. They're also have different size inner borders. I'll put it that way, because the cases, I believe, are going to be the same size. The inner border, the inner well, that bigger border may be bigger for obviously for Copper Age books and modern books, and smaller for Silver Age and Golden Age books. I'm assuming Golden Ages may need a totally different case, but we'll find that out once we get more information in 2025. But from everything I saw, it's on the up and up. The one thing that troubles me is pricing, because seeing the slab, it looks expensive. They can't come out and be more expensive than CGC. I said that on the last stream because I think they're going to cut off their nose to spite their face. If they're more expensive, it's going to be a problem. And of course, the big issue, like I also said last time, is that if those PSA slabs don't sell for the amount that a CGC slab sells for, it does not matter. They will still be number 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is. And I do think they're going to take over that 2 spot quite easily, because I don't think CBCS has a lot of fans. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a big deal. So Brandon says, apparently the engineer of the PSA slab is very good, according to the new PSA head grader interview. They were looking for input at cons, San Diego Comic-Con, so I expect good updates. Yeah, like I said, from the interview that I watched on Dave's channel, from all the information we got from San Diego Comic-Con, they were really the star of the show at San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm eager to see. I told you guys the last time, I'm definitely going to be sending some books in to get graded just to see the look and the feel of the slab, and then kind of go from there. But I'm really anxious to see what the price is going to be. I don't want to be spending $80 on a slab. And that's the whole reason I stopped slabbing books, because if I'm going to slab a book, it's going to be anything over $500 for the most part. And I believe now that tier of $1,000 or more, if you're a member, is like 80 something dollars. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while, but I don't want to spend almost $100 to slab a book. That's insanity to me. I'm going to spend $500 in a book or $1,000 in a book and pay 10% just to have it slabbed. Makes no sense. I'd rather take, if I slab 10 books, that's $1,000. I could buy, you know what I could buy for $1,000, man? A lot of great books. So that's it. Still only 35 cents. What's going on? Member of the Mighty Militia. You guys check it out, right? New hat. I love this hat. This hat is really freaking awesome. What's going on? Still only 35 cents. Check out his YouTube channel as well. Always does a great job. Oh, so he said he had the PSA slab in hand close up, and he's doing a video soon. So definitely, let me know when you do that, bro, so I can tag me in it on Instagram or something when you do the video. This way I can kind of see it and promote it for you as well. Do everything that I can. But yeah, I think so far, I think everything they've done is on the up and up. So we'll find out when that price comes out and when the book starts selling. So what else? Let's jump into the MCU, because that's the next big news that we got this week, is that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be the Doctor Doom in the MCU. And it was a shock to everybody out there, including myself. I did not expect that. I knew they were trying to get RDJ back, but Doctor Doom is my favorite villain in Marvel. Everybody knows that if you watch my channel. He is the ultimate villain. A top 3 villain in comics, in my opinion, all of comics, and that's a statement considering you have the Joker, who's probably at the top spot. You have Doctor Doom, and then you could probably throw in, maybe Lex Luthor. I don't know. There's so many great rogues villains for Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men. It's hard to name 3. I'm putting Doctor Doom on my top 3, 100%, and I'm definitely putting the Joker there, and then we can kind of go from there. But this is my thought, and I want to hear from you guys out in the comments, whoever's in the chat or who's ever watching on the rewind, is that Doctor Doom is so important, right? And we don't have enough time to kind of give him a proper backstory at this point. And the Secret Wars that they're going to be doing, I think, is going to be a combination from the 1980s run and then, of course, the 2015 Secret Wars. I think they're going to combine everything. They've already started with the incursion stuff. And now, of course, spoiler, if you haven't watched Deadpool and Wolverine, but I know other people have talked about this, is there's Nexus being, which is basically one person that is a Nexus being in each universe or timeline that is important to that timeline's existence. So that's those are huge words and huge, news we got out of Deadpool and Wolverine, that's something they could be, trying to use going forward in these multiverse movies. So with that said, they can't do a true origin for Doctor Doom at this point if they want to introduce the character. So why waste another actor who could possibly portray Doctor Doom when they reboot the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars? So that's my assumption of them doing this, is because why waste a whole great Doctor Doom actor and then having to bring him back later on once they reboot might confuse some people. So bringing back RDJ and kind of tying it to his character as Iron Man is a kind of a nifty way into doing that. And they also just come out and said that they're going to be releasing a new comic book kind of explaining how RDJ and Iron Man could be the new Doctor Doom. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to explain this, but this is my thought, and then we'll cover your comments and the stuff in the chat. I've heard from numerous people, and it seems plausible, is that we all assume that this Doctor Doom variant, and they have said it's going to be Victor Von Doom, not Tony Stark. Victor Von Doom got to come from a different universe, right? We all assume he's going to come from the Fantastic Four universe as well. I've heard some rumors that when the Fantastic Four gets shot over to our universe, that Doctor Doom will also get shot over into our universe, but they will come in at different timelines, meaning time frames. Excuse me. So the Fantastic Four will come in like now and right now in the present time, but Doctor Doom will get shot back at a point in the past. This is not confirmation; these are rumors that I'm hearing. So that would make sense considering that they want to try to tie this to Tony Stark and what he said in the original Avengers movie, where he wanted to create a suit of armor around the world, or was it Ultron, Age of Ultron? And that basically that he is a good guy, Doctor Doom, and he has good intentions, but at the end of the day, he wants to rule over one timeline. And maybe combining all these timelines, as it was in the Secret Wars, is that he stole the Beyonder's power and using Molecule Man, because instead of having a Nexus being, you did a Molecule Man over each timeline, each universe, and he would go and kill each Molecule Man and take their power. With that said, obviously they're not going to do that. So by having him go and kill each Kang, because we all saw the Kangs that happened at the end of, Loki seasons and all the movies that came out, Quantumania, all that stuff, that he may kill each Kang, take their power, and by doing so, kill each Nexus being along each timeline and universe. If that is done, they kill each one until he has one timeline, one universe, all on one world, which obviously would be Battle World. So that's what I've heard so far. Obviously, they would lose in Avengers Doomsday, and they would avenge in Secret Wars. So that's what I'm hearing right now. The only other thing I want to add to that is that we've mentioned that What If Demon in an Armor comic, where Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom are roommates, and Doctor Doom switches their minds, and then they go about living their lives. Something along those lines they kind of could portray if Doctor Doom came into our universe at some point in the past, meaning if he doesn't come into the present and gets shot in the past, and he kind of switches his mind with Tony Stark. It's a long shot. I really think it is. I don't think any comic book storyline, for the most part, is going to explain Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom. It's got to be whatever new they're going to pull into it. So that is all I wanted to say about that. Let's check in on the comments to see what everyone else says. So Victor says he wants a FF5 now. So I do not blame you, brother. And talking about comics, so we're going to talk about comics after we talk about this stuff as well, is that the only book I would be buying is FF5. So all these other books you're seeing people buy, whether it's Infamous Iron Man #1, which is total nonsense because that's when Doctor Doom becomes Iron Man. It has nothing to do with this. And these other books, like I just mentioned, what was it? The What If book I just mentioned, but there was also another one that Marvel Team Up book that I covered. There's a possibility that Doctor Doom came over as Tony Stark, knowing that Spider-Man, when Doctor Strange did that spell, that he pulled in everyone who knew who was Spider-Man, and he's been here since then. That's also another plausible thing. I heard Thorough talking about that, but I think that's a long shot as well. But yeah, FF5 is the only book I'd be buying. And right now there's a ton of them for sale. So if you're only going to buy, if you're going to buy for the long term and you get a good price. So Gary says he's not happy with RDJ as Doom. I only gave you the one spoiler. I will totally, about the Nexus being, I will talk further about spoilers when we talk about Deadpool Wolverine. It won't be much. Well, here's the thing. Where is the Beyonder? I don't think they're going to use the Beyonder in this one. I think they're going to kind of eliminate the Beyonder and use Doom as, God Emperor Doom, and then take powers from each of the Kang who's over each multiverse. That's my guess. But I really don't know. I don't think they're going to. They might have a Kang variant who they call the Beyonder, but it remains to be seen. That's the most plausible, that's for sure. Will Iron Man become Doctor Doom? This plot line happened in the comics. CBSI website just published a list of speculation comics that follow that Stark becomes Doctor Doom plot line. Yeah, and I think it's all speculation, and I wouldn't buy any of those comics, to be honest with you guys, because if you buy those books right now, they're just going to flop when none of those storylines come to fruition. I think Marvel's going to use the original Secret Wars and the 2015 Secret Wars and pull parts from there and then kind of create their own storyline, just like they did with Infinity Gold. And Infinity Gold had a lot of that stuff wasn't accurate to the comics, right? Adam Warlock wasn't even in it, should have been in it instead of Captain Marvel. That would have been a lot better. But they kind of make up whatever goes to be the best story. And the Russos are back, so I have full confidence that there will be a good story. And they'll both be great movies and entertaining. And I think it makes sense they're going to pull in RDJ and tie it to, who he was as Iron Man, because I think they're going to be around the same person and they just kind of break off and go in two separate directions. Because Iron Man has a choice to kind of go on his own and try to protect the world, or kind of fall in with the Avengers and just do his best to, listen to everyone else and do the team thing. I think Doctor Doom is not going to do the team thing and he's going to take matters into his own hands. But it's sad because I would like to see the original Doctor Doom build up when he was a kid, being poor, all that stuff. I think there'd be fantastic MCU film. My problem is that you can't have another Doom with another actor. I think you can once they reboot the MCU. And that's what they're going for, because you're not going to get another Captain America. You're not going to get Chris Evans after Secret Wars. RDJ will be done. I even think you're going to get some other characters that will be portrayed by different actors. Now, I've also heard that there won't be a Wolverine in the new MCU after this. It'll just be Daphne Keane as, X-23. I think that's an awful way to go. You cannot have an X-Men without a Wolverine. No one's going to watch it. You cannot have the Avengers without an Iron Man or a Captain America. No one's going to watch it. That's the problem with that. They have to recast these characters. In the beginning, when they all started the MCU, they should have thought about this years ago and cast younger actors, but they didn't. And there's nothing to do about it now. They have to soft reboot the MCU and go from there. So I think eventually you'll get a Doom, but it's not going to be anytime soon after this. Brandon says, I don't think Doom will be a variant. They just made fun of variants in Deadpool, saying no one likes the idea, basically. I agree. I don't think it'll be a variant of Tony Stark. I think it has to be a variant of Doctor Doom. Like I said, it all makes sense of when does Doom come into our timeline? He's not going to be from here because we've gotten no information about him, and he looks exactly like Iron Man. Who there's no two people from the same universe who look exactly alike unless they're twins. They're going to come up and say that Iron Man had a twin brother because that would be awful. So he's going to come from a different universe. There's no question in my mind. Yeah, it's got to be a Victor Von Doom from a different universe, and I think we'll find out once the Fantastic Four comes out, and we'll talk a little bit about that now. Is that I don't know if you guys saw it on the internet, but they didn't show it like to us, but they showed it at the San Diego Comic Con. That little baby trailer they got for Fantastic Four looks absolutely great. I absolutely love the route that they're going with this movie. I'm very, very excited. And that's when we'll find out how this version of Doctor Doom comes over to the main timeline, because that's where I think it's gonna happen. Um, and then we'll go from there. But I'm very excited for that movie. The trailer looked phenomenal. I love the cast that they put together. I wasn't a huge fan of Pedro Pascal when the original casting was announced, but it's grown on me to the point where I think he could pull it off. I think he needs to thicken up that beard a little bit. He's got that very sparse beard, which just kind of looks like a mustache, where it looks a little bit ridiculous in my opinion, but very good actor. I think he could pull off a great read. So outside of that, San Diego Comic Con, I mean, I heard from multiple people that comic book stuff was kind of slow, which it seems to be like that's how it used to be at San Diego before COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, there was like a ton of people just flocking to comics, which is great. So why don't we segue in from the MCU? I mean, I want to touch on Deadpool and Wolverine, but anyone who wants to jump out, and I'll come back to that. I want to talk about some books because um, obviously a lot of people are specking on a lot of stuff that's going to happen for Secret Wars and Doomsday and stuff. Don't jump into that stuff, please. In fact, if you have some of these books, you might want to sell them, take advantage of prices going higher. But if you guys have watched some of my recent videos lately, the Hot 10 breakdown this week, I did a video today highlighting a vendor, one of my favorite comic book dealers, Dustin Lineback over at Race City Comics. Those are going to be probably my only data-driven videos I do for a while. I had a tremendous outpouring of people who really came to my defense about stopping the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown and said how much they really look forward to it every week. And that, I'm one of the only honest guys talking about the books that are coming out, which I totally appreciate. So with that said, I'm going to keep doing the Hot 10 Comics of the Week. And I just hope and pray that we get some different books on the list, because I think just talking about the same 5 or 6 books and maybe having new books reappear every couple of weeks it just gets very repetitive. And I don't want to be that repetitive guy on YouTube. We all got into this hobby not for data driven analysis. We got into it because we want to collect stuff, right? I collect so much crap in this room, between arcades, between statues, between comics, between toys. It's just everything that I grew up with. So that's why I think a lot of the people do that. A lot of us do this. I am not strictly a comic book channel. I am a collector channel. So like we talk about anything collectible, obviously, hence Mighty Comics and collectibles. But the majority of things we talk about are comics, because a lot of us, collect comics. But as far as values go, I want to talk just a little bit about where I see things going. We're plateauing. Certain books are still fumbling, which is, I got to say, for the hobby, seeing a lot of these spec books go up because of movies, it's good to see. It's not good for the people buying this crap that people are specking on, but it's good to see people excited to go out and buy comics again, because I think that's part of the problem at times, is that there's nothing pushing people outside of reading. And that's great. I read trade paperbacks myself. I don't read, obviously, when I buy a book, a Silver Age book, I'm going to open it and reading it. I buy trade paperbacks if I'm going to read something. So it's great to see people go and buy comics because of speculation, even though that's not good for people buying them, but it's good for the hobby. I heard anything with a Doom cover right now seems to be flocking. Somebody just, Brandon says, Avengers 25 Sweet Doom cover. Yes, I actually have a great Doom cover that I'm going to be having for sale. If you guys haven't heard, I'm going to be on Newsstand Comic Collectors Instagram feed next Friday, August 9th, a week from today. I don't have a time yet, but I'm going to be selling maybe about a stack of comics that's about this high. So I don't know how many, maybe a short box full of books, some keys, some small books. I will have a couple of major keys for sale, but mostly mid keys, stuff like that. Nothing insane. But just to lighten my load here a bit, I really want to narrow down what I collect because, like, as you guys can see, I do have a lot of stuff here. But just be very picky what you're buying. You saw, if you watched an Instagram video today, you watched the Elite Comics 11 sales video. There's so many deals that we had on Instagram. It's crazy. It's still under GPA, and I'm just glad that they don't report the GPA because the market would come crashing down if every sale that we have just gets lower and lower and lower and lower. So keep that in your head. It's good that people are buying books on eBay, paying higher prices at times because that will drive the market higher at some point. But you're gonna have a lot of fluctuation. That's why I tell people 20 years. People ask me, well, I'm 60 something, I can't be holding books for 20 years. And I would say don't buy books at that point because it's going to be a long time. There's going to be a big lull, especially after Secret Wars, where Disney is starting everything over and comics are going to be in a lull for a really long time. A lot of people are selling off the collections now. In fact, I would tell people all the time, if you have a collection that you're looking to sell and you have some good books, whether it be silver, bronze, gold, and even some copper, I'm always willing to listen and see what you have. Because I have, like I said, people who are looking that I deal with for collections. So if you're looking to sell, do me a favor, email me in the description of this video. But it's a good time right now to buy comics if you're a long-term collector because you're getting in really good deals on bigger books. And I haven't seen these deals since 2018 when I was like in my heavy buying comic book thing because people are dumping. And when people are dumping, you have opportunity. So depending on your age, depending on your, income, and if you're willing to hold on to this stuff, I think you're getting in at a good price for the most part. Are there any books out there that you guys are thinking of buying outside of FF5? Somebody mentioned. I'm always here to see what people are looking for. Maybe I could help you. Maybe I could give you my opinion on things. Not that my opinion matters, but I know people have said to me on some of these things like, man, I really appreciate all you're doing to keep me away from some of the stuff, seeing what I should actually be paying, stuff like that. Not everybody has a GPA subscription. Okay. Not everybody wants to spend any money on that. Go Collect is great, but I don't always find their prices to be the same as GPA. A lot of the things report to GPA. The only thing that really doesn't is Comic Link and, obviously IG, stuff like that. So make room for Doom. That is a great, great handle, my friend. I literally just sold my whole collection. I'll grab in 4 years and nobody cares again. I think you're getting good prices now, but yeah, if you just sold, I totally get it. A lot of people right now with the economy the way it is, I think the economy is going to get a lot worse, unfortunately. Comic book stuff was quiet at San Diego Comic-Con. CG Smooth was mental tough. What does that mean by mental tough? Busy or just, I don't know what you mean by mental tough. Explain. Brandon says, I really hope Galactus sets up that energy siphon system on Earth. How creepy if portrayed good. I agree with you. Galactus was the best part of that freaking trailer we got. I'm so looking forward to that movie right now that, people say the MCU is back. I think Deadpool and Wolverine started that. But seeing RDJ come back is going to help that. And just seeing the footage from that wasn't even stuff that they shot because they haven't even started production yet. Just them putting that together without actually having a real production go at it was really great to see. So God knows that movie's going to be good, and that'll start things off on the right foot. And hopefully we could have another run like we did with, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Still only 30 presents. How about doing that top 10 with your own list? Like the problem is doing it every week would be really tough because I'd have to compile 10 books and I have to do a lot of data. Maybe at the end of the month, I could do something like that. Hottest comics of the month. That's something would interest you guys. You're not the first person to say that, but people have always said I've come on when I did that video saying, why don't you do your own hot 10 list? And it's an interesting thought. It's just having the time to compile all the data from live streams, from consignment pages, from eBay, stuff like that. That's a lot of work. Having a monthly video, that's not bad, actually. If you guys are interested in that, drop me in the comments, drop me in the chat. That's something I may do, like at the end of each month. Hottest comics of the month of August, something like that. Gary says you're picking up an All-Star 3. Excited for it. That's a nice one. Congrats, man. He says, my Iron Man 149 and 150 suddenly in demand. Yeah, I can imagine. But like I said, now's the time to maybe sell that stuff if you're not married to it. All Doom books, though, I've been waiting on this announcement since FF was announced. Yep. Well, listen, I haven't. Let me give you a tidbit. Well, I was going to mention this on the newsstand comic collector stream, but FF5, I will have an FF5 there for sale. It's signed by Stan Lee, which if you go check on CGC census, there's 174 signed FF5s on their census. That's it, 174. They don't say who they're signed by, so they could be signed by other people, even though I can't imagine who else would sign an FF5 besides Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, but I don't know. So I assume most of them are Stan. But 174, a yellow label, non-restored, complete books, that's not a lot. And there's 4 2.0s that are signed, and I have one of them. It's not going to come cheap because I love that book. So, but I am going to offer it up to sale on that live stream to see if anybody is interested. But yes, I would say, and this is my preference, is that, and I've said this before, if there's a book out there that is common, especially Silver Age books, obviously we know most of the Marvel Silver Age heavy hitters are anywhere from 2,000 to maybe 7,000 copies. In order to shrink that down a bit, if you can get one signed by somebody, I think it's a good thing. Not everybody likes signed books, but I think a lot of people do. So if you can get it signed or it is signed already, you kind of narrow that playing field a bit where it's less common. That's how I play it. Mark says, I'm looking to buy Pre-Code Horror. Have you seen the sales for Pre-Code Romance? What's the appeal of the artist? I just think it's preference. A lot of guys out there, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a niche collector who loves Pre-Code, but they also love Pre-Code Romance because of the artists, right? The artists are in the golden age are what make it valuable. I'll give you the Schomburg Captain America war covers. There's other Schomburg covers that people love. A lot of people just collect the artist in the golden age, not so much the book. Pre-Code Horror, though, I will say some of those covers are not only amazing, but also are heavily coveted. The big ones. I saw somebody Ali Collectibles today. He's got a what the hell is the name of it? I used to own it. The one of the guys face melting. Why am I not Tomb of Terror? The other one, Black Hat Mystery 50. He's got one of those for sale at an 8.5. I think it's for like $8,000. But if you're a Pre-Code Horror person, that's the book to own, in my opinion. There's also the Chamber of Chills with the wine glass. I forget the issue number. With the wine glass holding over the woman's face or half of its skull. That to me is my favorite Pre-Code Horror book. That's the one I would want to own personally, but they're niche. They're very niche. The problem becomes is that, in my opinion, the problem becomes is when those niche collectors are looking to sell, I don't think a lot of those books are easy to sell. They have to find other niche collectors. But again, that's my opinion, and that's what I've seen. How come the Black Cat Mystery in a 1.5 hasn't sold? It's a nice looking copy. To me, if that book was that hot, someone would have snatched that book. Absolute Game of Nerds. What's going on, Rohan? Just able to jump on for a few minutes. How are you, brother? I was thinking the same thing, Adam Rich says. I don't know what you're talking about, Adam. Or every 2 months, he's talking about the video about the hottest comics of the month. That's something I got to look into. I definitely think that it's something that is worthwhile to do. I don't know how many people would take my word on it, though. I know it is my most watched video every week is that Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown. But I don't know if it's because you guys just want to see what I'm giving a thumbs up or thumb down, or you want to see what books are on the list, or you just want the prices sold, or maybe it's everything, or maybe you just like my editing. But what jumping off top of it, the reason is because it's a lot of work that goes into that stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Not only do I script the whole thing out, I have to make all the elements, edit everything, throw it together, use 2 editing platforms. It's a lot of work. Same with all of the videos that I do that are not just me coming on here and talking. A lot of guys just come on and talk where there's not a lot of video elements. Or I think if you're looking at something and it's eye pleasing, then it's worth watching. That's how I go when I watch something. Like I got to tell you right now, and throw a shout out to one of my favorite YouTubers, Keston's Old School Comics. His videos are so well produced. There's a great amount of information giving, and they're also the editing and the production value of them are fantastic. He's also got a great voice. So that's what I want. I want everything. If I'm gonna sit down and watch a video, I want everything. So he does a fabulous job. So if you're not subbed to him, go sub to him up because it's criminal how few subscribers he has. I would love to just do a show with him or with someone else who kind of like we kind of do great things together, but it has to take off. So they're just the whole point of bringing this up was that I need to like one, I have to have fun doing it, but also I have to make it worthwhile for you guys. So if you guys like the Hot 10 breakdown, I'm going to keep doing it because you guys like it. But I do think it's a good idea to see, maybe I'll just try like a Hot 10 comics of the month to see what's like the ultra hot. It's something thinking about. So Still Loner 35 says FF1 and Avengers 1 as well. Yeah, they're all hot. AF15. Oh, those you're looking to buy? FF1 and Avengers 1? You know what? I would buy an Avengers 1 right now only because it's kind of like a forgotten book. Same with FF1, I guess. I've never been into FF1. I had one years ago. But Avengers 1 has gone down so much. And I still think you could find a nice raw copy for a decent deal. And that's what I'm holding out for if I'm going to buy one. AF15, obviously, is another huge one. That's the one, in my opinion. If I was going to start a collection, that's the book I would buy. It's just, there's so much appeal on all levels. You could still find a low grade. Yes, it's expensive. Don't get me wrong. But I think value wise, it's still got the most value of all the Silver Age books. I'm going to exclude Golden Age because a lot of Golden Age books are very hard to attain. There's more scarce than a lot of these Silver Age books. And I think there are a lot more Marvel fans, and I make it crucified by DC guys here and gals that there are more Marvel fans than DC fans. I think a lot of the DC fans are older, a lot older than me. I'm 46, but I think they're older than me. And I like Superman. I'm a huge Batman fan, obviously, but I think it's a lot more Marvel fans. And I don't think it's anything to do with the MCU. I just think a lot of collectors grew up in that time where Marvel dominated. Mark, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. I won't stop creating. I just may take a break for now, but I'll keep going with a lot of the stuff. Brandon says, "Hold, the boom was merely a market dead cat bounce. I hope." I think it's more than a dead cat bounce. It's got they went as high. Books went higher than they've ever went because of COVID, because nobody had anything to do, because the people had extra money, and because the MCU was at the peak of movie making. Let's not forget about that. I do think now we're at the point we've dropped enough that we're going to fluctuate around for the next 10 years. And then we need another catalyst to kind of start this. You're just going to have it be like this, up and down, basing for a while. And you have some books that kind of just climb and base, climb and base, climb and base, ascent until they, until we're old and gray. That's my opinion. But let me tell you, I did a video a long time ago, a bunch of videos that hierarchy of comic investments. And those are the only books I'd really be buying. If we're talking about money, I wouldn't buy anything else besides those books. So if you have a chance to go back and watch, there's a part 1 and a part 2. The part 1, there's some ridiculous books on there that most of us can't afford, but that's the truth. Part 2, there are more books that are more affordable to people out there. How about we get a bunch of YouTubers to do it together, say bring 2 books each? Yeah, I mean, I would love to do more, content creation with other YouTubers, 100%, because one, I don't always think they have to be live. Like you saw me do a Hot 10 breakdown with Ricky from All Sorts of Words, and I thought it was a fun video where it's pre-edited, meaning we're not just sitting here talking, but like my Hot 10 breakdown, where we're cutting back and forth like Tom and Jem Mint did. I thought those, say what you want about those 2 guys, but those are the best 2 comic book YouTubers from production value, in my opinion. Like those, they don't do their own editing. At least that video, that their Hot 10 list is not, they don't do that editing. They have an editor for that. But when you have good information set up with great production value and you have someone who kind of knows what he's talking about, it makes for good videos. And that's what I would really love to do, is get like a really good show and just go with a couple of partners. I think that would be really interesting, but it's hard to find good, good partners. I love Ricky, and me and Ricky are going to do 100 million things together. I can tell you that right now. Some people didn't like it. Some people loved it. We like to watch if we have some of the books. Well, that makes sense, right? Because you like to see your investments go up in value. 100%. Everybody, I think you hit the nail right on the back. You want to see what books you're selling for what, and if you own those books. Question is, I'll ask you, Don, if your book goes up, are you going to sell it or are you going to keep it? That's the thing. A lot of people are trigger shy when those books go up. They don't want to sell, but you really should. I mean, the big books like in AF-15, when that's on the list, I'm not selling it. You shouldn't be selling it. Same with all the big Silver Age keys. I wouldn't be selling them when they're on the list. Those are long-term holds. The Echelon platform. Bro, listen, it's very important I say this to you. Most of the people who talk comics are always trying to sell something. You don't. I appreciate your content, that you don't sound off or sound soft or snobbish. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. That's what I'm going for. Like, I know some people always will say, well, you're giving your opinion, you're putting down books. I don't hate every book on the list. I hate no books on the list. I like every book that comes on the list. It's just when people are gonna pay $500 for a 9.8 of a modern book, when you can go to your LCS and buy a raw copy that may be a 9.4 or 9.6 for like $100 or less, it doesn't make sense. Don't chase the grade, man. Chase the book. The book is what it's important. I understand we're in the modern era of people want grades and want the highest grade of everything. I get it. But I think in the end, you'll end up being disappointed. And that's what the last thing I want as a person who buys comic books. I want more people in the hobby, more people I could talk this stuff with, more people who we could do this together, throw stuff off each other, stuff like that. That's what, the people who are what make this hobby fun. Not even the books, guys. Yes, there's nostalgia factor for me, but all the people that I've met just because of comic books, not even because of YouTube, just because of comic books, I go to my LCS and just talk to the owners. Like, I love that. Just because I go to a local show by me and talk to the other guys and girls there, I love it. It's a part of my life that I didn't have, 6 yeyears ago, or 7 years ago, that when I first got back into it again. That's what I love about it. Brandon says, I love your top 10s because you always release in the morning. No one else does that. I agree. Sometimes I wonder if I should switch it up and change it to see if the video performs better, but I agree with you. I like waking up in the morning. And Brandon, I don't remember if you're on the East Coast or what. I think you are. I like waking up in the morning. I got to drive a half hour to work every day, 40 minutes. So that's the first thing I do is get in the car with my coffee, throw on whoever put out a video on YouTube that I didn't see yet. And a lot of times I'll watch myself. If I'm throwing out a video, I'll put myself on when it goes live. Robert Davis, another member of the Mighty Militia. Guys, if you're not a member of the channel, I know I haven't given you guys a lot of love lately, but the Mighty level, $5. I throw you guys a video every once in a while of books I am looking for, and that one is coming soon, members. It is coming soon because I do have my eye on one book. So I promise you it's coming soon. And of course, there's another one that's $1.99. If you just want to support the channel, you get all my videos early and badges, stuff like that. Usually Hot 10 breakdown of the week, regular for people, everybody else comes out Thursday. A lot of times I'll get it up Tuesday night for members. So you have it 2 days in advance, if that's something that floats your boat. But it's no. I also do member giveaways once in a while as well. But Mighty Militia, I love you guys, all of you. Ray Guevara, what's going on, brother? Will you be selling raw and graded books? Most of them are raw. I think I'll have like 3 graded books. That's all. You guys know, mostly I collect raw stuff outside of the bigger stuff you see behind me, but I'm not going to, see those books lists behind me? You only see 3, but let me scoot out of the way a second. Hold on. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I'm bringing one of those 5 books on Friday. Now, it's going to be listed for a stupid price, but it'll be available. Keep that in the back of your head. All right. The Ricky video was funny. Dude, he's great. He's such a great YouTuber. He put out a video today about reading comic books online. He's just a great character. Should have been an actor, as I should have. I actually, I'll mention this to you guys. I put out a trailer a long time ago, month ago. I did like a short documentary film about me trying to buy a book on Comic Link, and I submitted it to a short film festival. So I'm waiting for that festival to come out, and then I will release that video to everyone. It won't be till the fall though, but it's done. It's been uploaded. It was just a fun thing to do. I've always wanted to make a film, and I would want to make another one. So something I've always been interested in. But Ricky's a great guy, and I hopefully to do more stuff with him soon. I absolutely love your channel, by the way. Thank you, Adam. I trust your opinion the most out of anybody on YouTube because I can tell it comes from a genuine, honest place. Keep it up. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, man. Robert says, I'm not a YouTuber, but I'd like to hang with you digitally or something. Yeah, man. I know me and you have tried to hook up and get you on here at some point, but I know sometimes having kids, it's hard. But yeah, definitely you'll get on here, man. Anytime we do like a round table where I can get you on, 100%. Is it better to have one AF-15 or multiple lesser keys, easier to move if need be? Someone has asked me this question also recently, and it's a great question. At one point, I've had multiple copies of stuff. Right now, I actually have two AF-15s because I actually bought another one. A good buddy of mine used my payment plan service, and he's working his way off to pay that off right now, and he's almost there, and he'll have his very own AF-15 soon. So, um, if you're only thinking about money and it's only a money proposition for you, it's better to have two AF-15s. If you're a fan of these other characters and other lesser books and you want to own the books, I always think you will get more enjoyment of having all of those books with all these characters in it. At one point, I had the entire Silver Age Marvel First Appearance books, all the big ones. I had them all. And I loved having them all because they're all important. And to me, being a big Marvel guy, I'm not a huge DC guy. I'm a huge Batman guy alone. But having all those made me happy. So I'll ponder the question to you: is that having all those books, will they make you happy, or will having two AF-15s and the value be more make you more happy? If it's about value, two AF-15s. About being happy, I would think all the books, but don't go crazy, please. Don't be buying like all the stupid minor keys because I don't think they're worth it. If you're looking to buy like AF-15, Tales of Spence 39, Journey to Mystery 83, I think that's fine because I think you'll always be able to sell those books without question. If you start buying smaller books and you're not in love with the characters, I think with more copies available, I think it'll be harder to sell and you won't be as happy as a collector. Kirk, what's going on, brother? How about a lower to mid-grade Avengers 4? That a long-term hold? I love the book. Give me 1 second. I love the book. It's one of the first books that I bought back when I got back collecting. This is my issue with a Avengers 4. It's not a true first appearance. It's the first Silver Age appearance, okay? And to be honest, it's not even a true first Silver Age. Yes, okay, so in like there's a Tales of Suspense book where Captain America comes back that predates this, but it turns out to be not Captain America, Steve Rogers. It was somebody else, but they did it as like a test to see if people would be receptive, and they were, and then they brought back him in Avengers 4. So it's all things considered, it's the first Silver Age appearance. Do I want to own the book? Yes. Do I think it's long-term value? I think it will go up in value. Do I think there are other books I'd rather have for the $1,000 range that the book is probably going to cost you? Yes. That's just my opinion. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have something else than the Avengers 4. But again, if you love Captain America, that's the book to get besides Captain America 1. And that's 99.9% of us are not getting Captain America 1. Don says, I've been buying comics since 2021 and never sold a single issue. I have 20 short boxes now. Is that good, Don, or is that bad? Do you want it? Do you want to sell, or do you just like, that's a lot. 20 short boxes is a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like literally, I have a small short box half full of a Deadpool run because I like Deadpool that nobody knows, but I like modern Deadpool. So I read that. Had those a long time. And then I have a short box of smaller keys and smaller books, which will be for sale on next Friday. And then I have two short boxes of my ASM run. And then you have some of the keys that you see behind me. And like, that's it. The 4 here, and then I have another 4 on top. And then beside me here is another 2. And then I have my raw wall of all my certain amazing Spider-Man keys that are raw. That's it. I don't have a lot of books anymore. I never had a lot of books. So you have to decide if that's good for you. To me, I couldn't have 20 short boxes. I couldn't breathe. But some people like that. Thank you, brother. Have a good night. Tell the kids I said hello. You should do a video where you project a future value of certain books based on data. 10 in the future, let's say. That's just too hard. Plus, I don't want to give false information. Like, this is not an exact science. Like, this is just speculation. And the good thing is about if you buy Silver Age comics and if you buy Bronze Age comics for the most part, like the 10 that I talk about, 6 to 10 books that I would buy in the Bronze Age, and of course, Golden Age, bigger keys, there's a trajectory already there that started, in the 70s and 80s about where these books were and now where they are now. They've all been on an upward trajectory. All the keys, all. Only since the spike in 2020 did they go nuts and then come back down. So that partially has to do with inflation, by the cost of goods as we go further in our lives. That has something to do with it as well. But I think if you stick to the 20 Silver Age books I always talk about, if you stick to the 10 Bronze Age keys I always talk about, and if you can afford maybe like some of the big Golden Age books, yeah. Outside of that, there are so many Copper Age books out there, so many copies. I don't want to own 90% of them, 99% of them. How's that? Yes, I own an ASM 300. There's so many copies of that, but I just want to own the book because I'm a big Spider-Man fan, not because I want to own the book for money. New Mutants 98, it's another one. 1 million copies out there. Not literally, but you get the drift. Do I want to own the book? Yeah, but again, that's because I enjoy the character, not because I want to buy this book for monetary value. So try to basing, future prices in 10 years is just too hard. And I don't want to lead anyone down the wrong path. Young Avengers long-term hold 20 years from now, and any army of nostalgia for all Avengers movies 10-year run East Coast I am. Well, I heard they scrapped the Young Avengers movie. So, oh, he said yes, Avengers. I thought he said Young Avengers. Yeah, 100%. The Echelon platform. I just told my brother this earlier. I watched to see where the books are but it's dope to see your books on the list. It's like seeing yourself on TV. It is cool. Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's the thing with the Key Collector app. And I've said it, for since day one, is that I don't know how they pull data. I don't know where they get their data from. I would like to see other books be on these lists. I'm not the one pulling data. I mean, I could cover other lists, but I don't think it's hard to adapt. I think I'm the only person who knows Hot 10 besides Comic Tom. I know Jemmint just left his channel. So Tom, I'm available, man. You want to do Hot 10 together, but I'm breaking them down. I'm telling people yes or no. But if you're watching this, Tom, send me a message. I bring good production value. But yeah. All right. So any other questions about books? We've been on for an hour and 7 minutes. I do want to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. So if you haven't seen the movie and want to jump off for a minute, spoiler warning, but I'm not going to go too much into it, but I just want to say how much I enjoy the movie. I thought it was the best Deadpool movie by far. The first Deadpool I loved, absolutely. The second one I did not like at all. I thought it was terrible. But this one was absolutely fantastic. So many, fan moments where he puts on that mask for the first time. Like, it was just unbelievable. The score was tremendous. The fight scenes were fantastic. The anger that Hugh Jackman had towards Deadpool was absolutely phenomenal. The emotion he had was absolutely freaking phenomenal. Like, that's what you want from a Wolverine. I've been waiting for that for a long time. So, and Deadpool's mouth was just perfectly made. So another thing was his dog pool, which it reminded me of my dog. It's unbelievable how much. Here, hold on a second. Actually, I have him on my phone. I was going to get a picture, but it's just amazing, the resemblance. There he is with the tongue. But it was just a great freaking movie. Great surprises we got between Gambit, Blade, all the characters. I don't need to name them all, but I thought they were all fantastic. It's sad we won't get another Deadpool movie, but I'm looking forward to see them both in the MCU again. Hopefully in Avengers Secret Wars is probably going to be. So absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen it, please go see it because it's nothing like any other MCU movie. However, I will say this. There are people out there saying it was better than Infinity War and Endgame, and stop it, because it was not, because those movies were incredibly emotional, greatly acted, where this movie was over the top, fantastic. Like, that's everything you want to see from a Deadpool movie. So definitely worth watching multiple times if you can, because every time I see tidbits, like, I go back and say, oh shit, I didn't notice that. But very good. Ray says, did you sell the Malibu Sun Error variant? Not yet, but it'll be for sale on Newsstand Comic Collectors live sale with me. It will be there, but I'm not selling it cheap, but it will be there. That's one of the books. So I don't want to break out and show you all the books because there's a bunch of keys. There are some $5 books. There's some $10 books, stuff like that. There's some sets. There's an Infinity Gauntlet set that I have for cheap. There's a Detective Comics set I'll have for cheap. So it's not just keys. There's a bunch of stuff. I just don't have a lot of books to sell. That's going to be a one-time thing. So I love John, but I'm not a dealer, but it's just me saying, hey, let me clear some room. John always gets some good views, and let's try to blow this thing out and maybe sell some of these books. But there's going to be some once in a lifetime opportunities on this thing, because like I said, I'm going to bring a couple of goodies if anybody is really serious about taking on a big book. And not because I want to sell it. It's just because if somebody's willing to offer me the price that I want for it, I will sell it. And we'll leave it at that. So I'm going to stay on a little bit longer if you guys have questions. And then I'm going to go. Again, I appreciate everybody who's in the chat tonight. And if you're watching this in the rewind, this has just like been a great show, because if you guys ever notice, I kind of talk quickly when I'm on doing videos, and that's something I'm trying to get over. And I've been my speech has been very good. So, and I'm never nervous. It's just, I tend to talk very fast. So this has been a good one tonight. But again, I really appreciate you guys. If you're interested in joining the memberships, I love you guys. It's always a great way to support the channel. Mighty Militia. Going forward, I'm going to Terrificon in 2 weeks. So if anybody's in the chat or will be at Terrificon in a couple of weeks, make sure if you see me, I'm only going to be there the Friday. So I plan on actually going to some of the vendors and seeing if they're willing to do some interviews. I saw Swaggle do that. And yes, Swaggle, I'm biting that bit from you on the East Coast. And we're going to talk to some dealers, and we're going to ask them a few questions about books, about what they're seeing in the market, stuff like that, and go from there. I do think it's going to be a great set of videos coming from Terrificon, even though it's going to be only a one-day show for me. There's going to be a lot of great Instagrammers and YouTubers and collectors that are going to be there, including Ricky from All Sorts of Words, Mike from Lunch Money Comics is going to be there. Absolute Game of Nerds, Rohan's going to be there. Dan's X-Men Comics is going to be there. A bunch of people I know. Nerdy Girl is going to be there this year. E-Rod will be there. Varigara will be there. The Press Up with Defects will be there. I saw them there last year. Terrificon is one of the better shows you're going to get to go to if you're on the East Coast or flying in. I know a bunch of people are flying in this year, so it's going to be a blast. I see no questions, so I'm going to end this stream tonight, guys. Again, I really appreciate you all joining me for the night. Again, a lot of stuff we touched on between the CGC lawsuit. Really pay attention to what happens to Matt Nelson over the next, I would say 6 months or so, to see what happens with that case and then what happens with him. Hoping for the best for him, and I'm hoping he decides that maybe he wants to change the scenery. At least that's what I would do, but that's just me. And of course, we touched on MCU, RDJ, Deadpool Wolverine, and of course, comics. That's our main thing. So again, I always appreciate you guys. Well, here we go. A quick question before we go. Better buy Showcase 22 or Giant Size X-Men 1? Giant Size X-Men 1. That's a tough call. I always say silver over bronze, but I got to tell you, Giant Size X-Men 1 is one of my favorite Bronze Age books. I'd point to, over the long term, Showcase 22 hasn't done much. It's one of those books that has been criminally undervalued for a really long time. Not a true first appearance. It's true first appearance of the new Green Lantern, not the original. So that's what's been really holding it down, just like Avengers 4, just like Avengers #1, just like JLA, first appearance of JLA, Brave and the Bold 28. All those books are being held down because they're not, like, we have either first team appearances or first Silver Age appearances. So if you're asking me what I'd rather own, Showcase 22 is definitely more rare than Giant Size X-Men 1, and it's a Silver Age book. So if I had to pick one for right now, it'd be Showcase 22. But I also think that it would be harder to sell a Showcase 22 than a Giant Size X-Men 1. Everybody loves the X-Men. Everybody wants to own that book. So it's really a toss-up and preference. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it. So that's it, guys. Appreciate you as always. If you're not a sub, consider subscribing to the channel. We always appreciate it here on the channel. It's Lawrence over at Mighty Comics Collectible saying thank you for watching, and I will talk to everyone soon.